Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. So before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, also subscribe to my channel. In this video, we will talk about Top 10 Most Impressive Prison Breaks. So make sure to watch the full video. Prison escapes may be rare, but when they do occur, they often cause scandal and gain lots of media attention. We have compiled the top 10 prison escapes of all time. These are all real stories with fascinating outcomes. Enjoy! 10. Yashi Suratori. Yashi Suratori is best known for escaping from prison 4 times in 3 years. After being convicted of murder, he was sentenced to life plus 23 years imprisonment. Suratori escaped from Aomori prison in 1936, was recaptured and escaped from Akita prison in 1942. In 1944, he rusted his handcuff and an inspection hole with miso soup before escaping from a Bashiri prison. He was caught again in 1946. Sapporo District Court sentenced him to death, which caused Suratori to desperately find a way to escape, and in 1947, he dug a tunnel and escaped for the 4th time. 9. John Dillinger. John Herbert Dillinger Jr. was an American bank robber during the Depression era who robbed 24 banks and 4 police stations during his crime spree. He escaped from prison twice in his criminal career. During a period in jail in Indiana, Dillinger befriended a series of seasoned bank robbers who taught him to be a successful criminal. After being released at the height of the Great Depression, Dillinger immediately returned to crime. After robbing 2 banks, he was captured and imprisoned in Lima in the autumn of 1933. Dillinger used his time in jail to aid the escape of a group of inmates who he had met during his previous jail term. Inmates smuggled guns into their prison cells, which they used to escape just 4 days after Dillinger had been captured. The group then returned to the prison, impersonating Indiana State Prison officers, and successfully released Dillinger from his cell. 8. Alfred George Hines. Alfred George Hines was a British criminal who successfully broke out of 3 high-security prisons while serving a 12-year prison sentence. Hines' first escape was from a Nottingham prison in 1958, where he managed to get through locked doors and over a 20-foot prison wall to his freedom. This feat earned him the name Houdini Hines in the media. He traveled throughout Europe during his time on the run, working as a painter-decorator before being apprehended after 248 days of freedom. Hines used his rearrest to his advantage, bringing a lawsuit against the authorities and hence finding a reason to be escorted to the law courts. Accomplices supplied Hines with a padlock and attached screw eyes onto a toilet cubicle so that while being escorted to the toilet, Hines bundled the 2 guards into the cubicle and locked them in. Escaping onto Fleet Street, Hines made for the airport, where he was captured 5 hours later. 7. John Gerard. John Gerard is the only person ever known to have escaped from the notorious Tower of London. A Jesuit priest, Gerard was imprisoned for continuing to preach his Catholic beliefs when the church was under heavy persecution from Elizabeth in England. During his imprisonment, he endured several interrogations, often being tortured for information. He never broke, but was eventually sentenced to death for his crimes. Desperate to escape, Gerard communicated with allies on the outside via smuggled notes written in invisible ink made from orange juice. 6. Texas 7. A group of prisoners, dubbed the Texas 7, escaped from the John B. Canally unit on 13 December 2000. An elaborate scheme devised by the group led to the group overpowering and restraining 16 people, including supervisors, officers, and 3 uninvolved inmates. Once overpowered, clothing, credit cards, and ID were taken from the victims and used to impersonate civilians at the back gate of the prison. 4 of the offenders stayed behind to make phone calls to the prison tower guards to distract them. The rest raided the guard tower and stole numerous weapons, and then stole a prison maintenance pickup truck in which all 7 drove away from the prison. They were apprehended just over a month after. 6 of the 7 were placed on Texas death row, while the 7th, Larry James Harper, committed suicide rather than return to prison. 5. Empress Matilda's escape. In the autumn of 1142, Empress Matilda was besieged in Oxford Castle by soldiers loyal to her cousin Stephen. A battle, labeled the Anarchy, was raging across the country for the crown of England. Stephen, grandson of William the Conqueror and Matilda's cousin, both laid claim to the crown and took it in turns to lay siege to one another's strongholds. The siege at Oxford Castle lasted for 3 months. 4. Escape from Alcatraz. In June 1962, 3 prisoners of the notorious Alcatraz island escaped and mysteriously went missing. A plot devised by fellow prison Allen West saw Frank Morris, John Anglin, and his brother Clarence spending 2 years digging an escape route through the cell walls and building a raft to sail to freedom. Dummies were placed in the 3 prisoners' beds to fool the prison guards, so it was not until the following morning that the guards discovered they had gone. 3. Ronnie Biggs. Ronald Arthur Biggs, more commonly known as Ronnie Biggs, is infamous for his role in the Great Train Robbery of 1963 and for his 36 years living as a fugitive until his voluntary surrender in 2001. Initially captured and sent to prison for his part in the Great Train Robbery, Biggs only served 19 months of his prison sentence before escaping from Wandsworth Prison on 8 July 1965 by scaling a wall with a rope ladder and dropping onto a waiting van. He fled to Brussels via boat and then on to Paris, where he acquired a new identity and underwent plastic surgery. His 36 years on the run were spent predominantly in Australia and Brazil. On 7 May 2001, Ronnie voluntarily returned to the UK and was immediately arrested and imprisoned. He served 8 years in jail before being released on compassionate grounds in 2009. He died in December 2013. 2. Maze Prison. HM Prison Maze was the location of the biggest prison escape in British history, when on 25 September 1983, 38 IRA prisoners smashed their way out of the maximum security prison, widely considered to be one of the most escape-proof prisons in Europe. 15-foot fences and 18-foot thick concrete walls, topped with barbed wire encircled H-block, and solid steel doors barred all exits from the prison complex. Prisoners planned the escape over several months. 2 accomplices, Bobby Story and Jerry Kelly, started work as orderlies to identify weaknesses in the system, and 6 handguns were smuggled into the prison by exploiting these downfalls. Just after 2:30 p.m., prisoners seized control by simultaneously taking the prison officers hostage and hijacking a lorry which was delivering food to the block. 1. The Great Escape. Devised by Squadron leader Roger Bushell in the spring of 1943, the Great Escape from prisoner of war camp Stalag Luftruhen 3 occurred on the night of 24 March 1944. Bushell was in command of the escape committee in the North Compound, where the British airmen were housed. His Great Escape plan involved the building of 3 bloody deep, bloody long tunnels underneath the camp fences. The tunnels were nicknamed Tom, Dick, and Harry. If one of the tunnels was discovered by the Germans, it was presumed that they would never suspect 2 more might be underway. More than 600 prisoners were involved in the tunnel's construction, with Bushell aiming to get 200 prisoners to freedom. The tunnels descended 30 feet below the surface and were only 2 foot square. The walls were shored up with pieces of wood which were mainly scavenged from the prisoners' beds. The prisoners were very inventive with their scavenged items. Tin cans became scoops and candle holders. Candles were fashioned from the fat off the top of soup served in the camp, whilst wicks were created from old clothing. The sand dug out of the tunnels was discreetly scattered while the prisoners walked around the camp. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to our channel before you go. Thank you for watching.